Yeah.
Football, and obviously the big start happened over the last couple of days, and it's a very warm welcome to the man of the show, Nevin. Good afternoon or good evening where you are. How are you, my friend?
I'm good. I'm good. How are you?
Yeah, not bad, not bad. Just looking out on a. It's a very cold morning here, but it's something that you'll have to get used to me saying for the next 3, 4 months, unfortunately. How is it where you are?
It's bright and sunny. I've got my fan on.
Oh
Uh,
goodness me! This is
and
not what I
weather
want to
that
hear.
will that should make you jealous.
Absolutely, yeah. I can. Well, I can even imagine you just showing a picture outside your window would make me jealous, no matter what the weather is. Because although Leicester's a beautiful place, I don't think it's close to being as beautiful as what a lot of people say, God's own country, Kerala. Yeah. How's your week been? Busy?
Busy, incredibly busy. I think a lot of sports happening, a lot of work pending from the last 1 2 weeks. Also, I've been editing a few videos. A lot of things happening actually, but good fun. I like to be occupied. I mean, I you know that. I mean, we've been talking to each other for a year now. You know, I've never like sitting idle. So yeah, good to be busy.
And incredible video that you shared yesterday. And I want to start off by talking about that because I followed the diaries, the 14-day diaries, and we spoke a little bit about it last week. And I think the conclusion was yesterday you shared the videos and incredible videos that you've put together there showcasing that part of Kerala, which I'm assuming the rest of it is pretty much the same. But for a lot of people who don't know where to find it, where can they find this 14-day trip that you've made? And I want to talk a little bit more about that trip because I love the stories and every day the stories you shared about Kovalam FC. What part of Kerala is that? Is that near where you live?
I live in the central part of Kerala. We've got coast from north to south, so coastal area is there, but this is the southern tip of Kerala. In fact, when I was shooting, there were occasions where we were speaking Tamil and not Malayalam
All
because we
right.
are so close to Tamil Nadu. Yeah, it's just like the absolute like I actually reached the border as well because one of my meeting was so close to the border. So this is the southern tip as you can possibly get in Kerala, and it's also a football haven. A lot of people don't know the fact. I mean, when it comes to Kerala, people think it's the north, the Malabar region that plays football, but that's not true. There's a lot of football happening in this part of Kerala as well. In fact, it crosses over to Tamil Nadu. So if you look at the lot of footballers like Sose Raj for ATK, his brother Regan, a lot of good footballers. In fact, one of the villages there is called the Sandosh Trophy Gramam, which basically means Sandosh Trophy village, because they produce a lot of Sandosh Trophy footballers. So if you look at Tamil Nadu and Kerala teams for the last 20, 30 years, a chunk comes from this particular village. So very interesting also because you see similarities with places like say Brazil, places within India as well. It's sort of the story is intertwined in poverty, and football is an escape for a lot of them. Football is a way out for who these people are predominantly fisher folks. They go out in the sea. Things are not looking great these days because of the risk involved, climate change, so many things happening. There's a port coming in, like a shipping port. That means they all have to quit fishing for in the next 1.5 2 years. So a lot of chaos there, and football is that big escape. I know we've used this phrase a lot about how football is a great escape for a lot of us. For even for us to just go and watch football means a lot, but for them, it's literally the big escape from poverty and all that. So it's a fascinating space. I think football clubs in Kerala, and I'm shouting out to Kerala Blasters and everybody involved, like Gokulam and everybody. If you really want to step up your community outreach, this is the area that you want to be working in.
Now, I've just brought up a map just to get in my head as to the area you're talking about. But for those who don't have a map in front of them, how far away is it from where the Blasters play?
Blasters play like 10 minutes away from my home. So this is central Kerala.
Right, and
In Kochi.
Kovalam?
That's Kochi. Kolam is in the southern tip.
Right, so this is obviously you said that, I mean, my association with Kerala and what I think of it is football's played everywhere. But from what you're saying, a lot of people think it's just played in the north, but this is a big part of the scene down south as well. Did they have a background? Has there been a rich tradition? And I know you're saying it's an outlet for a lot of people there, and they're predominantly fishermen. But I'll be honest with you, we've got fishermen in Gujarat all over the coast, but not a lot of them play football. So where does that connection come from?
So football, so it's not new. And if you look at the history of football in Kerala, it's mostly British Army, or it's usually the Christian missionary projects that have really brought the game and sort of spread it to the coast. So if you look at Malabar area, they were inspired by the army camps that were fighting the Anglo-Mysore wars with Tipu Sultan and Hyder Ali. So they had like a huge camp in Malabar region, and that's probably the start of football for them. In South, it's more like colleges and missionary projects, sort of introducing football as a method to unite people, have some sort of fun and all that. So yeah, but it is like the sport has been there, and sport is there throughout, like throughout Kerala. This your assumption and that part is correct. It's just that it's really really good here, and like a lot of small tournaments happen. I think the significant difference from say North, the Malabar region, and the South is that in the 60s and 70s there was a lot of Gulf exodus from the North. So a lot of people from the North went to Gulf countries like Middle East and all that, and they came back with a lot of money. That really they pumped that money into football. So their events were more extravagant. The sevens football became a phenomenon. We all talk about it like, wow, Kerala sevens football is very exciting, and like it's way more organized, and essentially there's a lot more money there. While in the South, it's still still finding its roots and finding one way get that money in place, and it's hyper local. So it's like all small villages have a team and they are competing with each other, and sometimes it's also restrictive because there's no bigger outlook for them. They want to just be the best footballer in their village, and there's probably not one club that takes in all these footballers, take them to the national platform. The objective is to play really good football, somehow get into the Kerala team. That means a government job, and then that's it. That's the end of football career for them.
Right.
Unfortunately, there's no route to professional football, and hopefully, clubs like Kovalam FC, whom I've been writing about, and like other clubs as well. I hope Blasters, Gokulam, everybody just looks at this as a, like, what I like about Chennai City FC is that they are a club with a good mission. They're like, we've got exciting players in Tamil Nadu. Why don't we just promote it? And if you look at it, Chennai City has a lot more players from this region than the Kerala teams. They've tapped into this more than the actual Kerala teams. So similarly, I wish some clubs would say, listen, it might take 2-3 more years, like extra, if you don't get players from the Northeast or say foreign players. But this is a project worth investing in, because once there is a system, this is going to be like a farm. There's going to be so many footballers. You're going to start, like, look at FC Goa, for example. They have like 14 Goans registered in that side. And there are a lot of good quality Goans not being able to make it to the FC Goa side. So there's potential. I mean, you need like that foresight and somebody with like money and willpower to like really invest in this project. Hopefully it's coming soon.
Yeah, and it's something that we talked about, and in the last show, that the Northeast could tap into the incredible talent they've got there, have a lot of local boys. But what was this story in the back of your mind for a long time, and what made you go there and discover it?
I mean, you know me for more than a year now, so this is the kind of work I do generally also. So no surprise there. Like that's that. But like with Kovalam, I've been associated with the club for more than 1.5 years now. So
Oh,
the
right.
first time I was in 2019 April, and I sort of worked with them for the summer camp. I was like interacting with kids, showing the other side of football. Like I can't do the good things on the pitch, so I said like this is life outside. This is where you have to be careful. This is why you need to study. This is why you need to be wary of fake news. This is how you get to know about trials. That's the kind of thing I did in the 2 weeks there in April 2019, and then sort of became very close to the club. So I'm also like apparently for a couple of tournaments my name was registered as a manager, so I'm like a known figure now. I keep going back now and then. So this time around I thought let me just write about it. This is a project that's really close to my heart, and I hope it reflects in the work. It doesn't come across as a stranger in the area. I am like I mean, for me, access has become so much more easier because I'm friends with the kids, and like a lot of families know me. It's a comfortable zone for me now.
I think you won't be a stranger once you don't have to ask if there's alligators where you're about to swim. I think that's the
Yeah,
test.
probably.
So you need to
Yeah,
get to that level, then you'll be
still
one.
improve. Yeah,
No, but it's an incredibly fascinating story, and you've discovered it again. You did it when you went to Gujarat, and incredible videos and stories you gave. For me, coming from Gujarat, something I didn't know. But this is again the level of commitment of the people around that club is amazing because, like you said, they're not in it for themselves. It's to provide an outlet to the local community, and it's a wonderful story. And the husband and wife from the States, and how the community has got is even its own stadium. There's professional clubs that don't have their own stadium. So how does this all come about in such a place where they're not in it? There's no financial big money investment coming in.
I mean, it's purely luck. I guess a lot of it is just, you know, it was meant to be, so it happened. I mean, what are the odds? So when I was talking to the couple, the husband and the couple, Matthew, about how he met Eben, who founded the club, it was just purely coincidental. He was at the beach and he saw somebody train football, and he was just curious, oh, what is happening here? So I mean, it could have been anyone, and then the project would have failed. It just and he spent some 6 months really studying the club. He wanted to be sure that this is not some project, and that Eben's heart was in the right place. And so, yeah, in the initial 6 months, he was just paying so that the players can get a ground to practice and things like that, because otherwise they were practicing in the beach. So he would just pay for the stadium and things like that. And in the 6 months, he slowly got, convinced by the project. And then Eben himself approached because he was feeling comfortable with Matthew, and sort of like, I won't say love at first sight, but some magic to it, just like, you finding a partner for life. There was some sort of a magic associated with it, and it sort of clicked.
Yeah, and I became really invested in as I was following the stories. There's 7 parts to it, I think. It's a 14-day trip. But what does the future hold as a former manager of golf of the club? What are their plans, and how far can they go? Because you've got the likes of Gokulam and obviously the Blasters, big clubs. What are their hopes?
So let's be honest, like I love them, but I'm not saying this is the future or this is how it. A lot of football clubs are like founded on good principles, but they don't really last the challenges that Indian football throws at them. It's like when I'm saying this, I'm thinking of a lot of waves, and you would assume the best people to hit the waves and get past them would be the fishermen in themselves. So
Yeah,
uh,
that's a
you know
good analogy.
yeah, but like I mean, sometimes even for fishermen it gets difficult, and you really have to see. I think the plan is to divide the club into three things. One would be the academy, and they are also like already in talks with a lot of international clubs for a partnership in terms of like an academy, like an international partnership. They have actual tie-ups with a couple of United States-based teams, so they're still working out on the logistics of it. So there will be like an international academy. That's one unit. There will be the team that plays in the ISL, KSL, all those leagues, like an I League and all. That they want to keep the senior team separate. That's a separate
So
entity.
the aim is to get
And
into the ISL.
yeah,
Wow.
yeah. And I mean, it's a slow step. First, they want to play in. Kerala is proposing a similar setup called the Kerala Super League.
Right.
So they will play in they want to play in the KSL first. They already play in the KPL, Kerala Premier League. And I think they want to bypass the I League because they don't feel the necessity to play an I League. But maybe they'll have, by then the route is such that you can only enter the I League and then you need to qualify. So in that case, they'll probably want to get into the I League. But they do harbor ISL hopes because their third deal, the third unit of it is an actual international stadium at Kovalam. So that's like a 10-acre property with hotels and things like that. It's like a huge project with like good investors already backing it. So that is where maybe potentially you can see India play football matches in the future. They're
Wow.
actually building, like a high quality stadium there. So a lot of things happening. So these three will be separate units and not necessarily interconnected as well. But they've already launched a gymkhana, like a place where you can like get a membership and get access to the hotel that's overlooking the sea and all. So if you're ever coming to Kerala, I know where you're going to stay. Everything is sorted for you. Just come off.
Well, like I said, it's one of my top on my bucket list. Is one of my top destinations, so it will happen. We'll just have to see when. But in terms of what you just said, and something else, you said earlier about the fishermen, not having maybe a future because of this port that's being built. Do you think when that happens, and unfortunately, the consequences are that a lot of people don't have their normal trade or living, that this will affect the area, the region, or do you think the port will benefit the region?
It's a tricky question, right? So whenever there is a development project coming in, the whole, the pro development side is like saying, oh, you will all get jobs. Others are like, hey, but we've been doing fishing for like ever. Just asking us to stop fishing. So there has been a protest that's been going on for at least 3 years now, every day.
Oh, wow.
And yeah, but the project is still on because who is protesting? It's a minority gang and it's a very marginalized section. So the entire population is not fascinated by it. Me sitting in Kochi, I'm like, oh, why do these fishermen have to, stop our development, because if a port comes, cars are going to come, this is going to happen, tourism is going to boom. That's the assumption, right? So for me, because my life isn't threatened by the port, I am more than happy for the port to come. But like for them, it's totally different, right? I did ask people who are local youth developers, like small organizations based in that region to somehow promote the youth and all that. And they said their biggest challenge was they are saying we will get jobs. The port is saying that we will get jobs, but nobody is saying what jobs. And all these people are asking is that if you say what kind of jobs you're looking at, we will develop our youth for it. So that tomorrow you don't complain saying we are underqualified. So if you say you're looking for hoteliers, if you're saying you're looking for people, who can manage the inventory, people who can, load, unload, whatever. We will develop the young people from here because it's a 3 or 5 year project, right? You tell us what you want. And they are not uttering a word. They are not saying, they'll just say, we'll give you jobs. They're saying, we don't want to just remain as some loading, unloading guy, or no disrespect to the job. Like they're saying, just let us know what is the qualification, what are the jobs that you're looking for so that we will be ready by the time the port is set up. So that I think is the biggest challenge. I think that's something the port makers, the government, everybody can come out and say, okay, this is the proposal, this is what we want. You give us your kids for it. And I think that will really make things better because there is also this sense that the sea is dying. You keep asking, like there's lesser fish. There are sophisticated ships and boats coming and just wiping all the fish in one go. So these smaller fishermen have absolutely nothing to catch. The machines are not good enough to, last what climate change is bringing to them. There are bigger waves now, more storms happening. So there is this belief within the community also that, eventually we'll have to move out of fishing, at least, phase out. So they're more than happy to do the the work at the port, but just give them some sort of guarantee.
That really resonates with me because a lot of the work my department and my team does is about preparing young people and even people that are looking for work into the jobs that are coming up. And we have employers, just to give you an example, HS2 is a big new train line that's being built, high-speed train line, and they've been sharing us jobs that are going to be down the line in 5 years, 10 years, 15 years, so we can start preparing the kids so they can be eligible to apply for those jobs. So that is a big element of getting the local community ready for any jobs that are coming up. So I it does work, and it does happen here, so I can associate, and that does resonate with me. That if Adani ports aren't sharing that, that's a little bit disappointing. But just going back to football, any players that you saw there that stood out for you that could play at a higher standard?
Obviously, a lot. Like,
Really?
I mean, it's sort of unfair to say one or two names, but like, especially in the under 20 category, given the right kind of training now, I don't know what is going to happen to their lives right now, because if they don't get the platform, they'll probably like fizzle out like the 24-year-olds, 25-year-olds in the team. They were also undoubtedly like supremely talented from what I hear, but just didn't get the right platform at the right time. So there is a supremely talented under 20 team with the Kovala FC itself, and the coast is brimming with such players everywhere. So if you look at, I mean, I can think of Samson, I can think of Jittu, I can think of Manoj. They are extremely fast, pacey. They like to take on players. You have an idea of how Soseraj plays. Right? They're all Soseraj.
Wow.
They're all those versatile,
That's
fast.
a big compliment.
They are. I mean, the coast is filled with Soseraj. I mean, it's more difficult to get Regin. Regin is the center midfielder who holds back and plays. Everybody is just an attacker. They just want to attack. Which is why it sort of reminds me of Brazil.
Yeah.
Everybody wants to be a Ronaldo.
Brazil never had any defenders or a decent goalkeeper, if you remember.
Yeah.
But just ending.
They were also probably like, they were also forwards probably when they started off, and then they said, okay, maybe different.
But just to end this fantastic insight into this story, and something you mentioned, I suppose surprising is the wrong word, but when you said that they've got ambitions of getting to the ISL, do you think Kerala's, obviously it's got the talent, it's got the players, do you think it can sustain 3 big clubs? Because obviously Gokulam wants to be there, Blaster's already there.
Yeah, ideally, but again, this is like a huge project, right? So if they're not going to enter the league at like tomorrow or next year or whatever, we're looking, say, 5 years, 6 years down the lane. By then, we are also hoping the Indian football also grows in a rapid pace. And while we talk about Kerala having 3 clubs, let's not forget the fact that Tamil Nadu has 2 in Chennai City and Chennai. And Tamil Nadu is like, 3 times, 4 times larger than Kerala. So there is a lot of population there as well who can come play, and especially in the southern coast, they're all speaking Tamil, they're all speaking Malayalam. So Kovalam can actually tap into Tamil Nadu as well. It's not just eating into the whole Kerala market. In fact, the larger property that they wanted to buy for the stadium, they in fact considered buying it in Tamil Nadu because it's all close. So there is the pressure, because it's a fascinating project for a lot of politicians and everybody. So they wanted to remain in Kerala because they want to, use that and say, hey, I did this for, Trivandrum. There's a big name. I'm not naming him, but you know the name involved in the background of this. So a big politician formerly associated with the United Nations.
I've seen the photographs. And,
So, he obviously wants it to remain in Trivandrum, and so hence there's Tamil Nadu is definitely there, so they can, at least the players can come here. So I personally believe 3 can exist. I believe every state can have 3 or more teams. The more the merrier, right? Like you have UK, and I'm sure every nook and corner there's a football team. If not,
Oh yeah.
If an Arsenal, if a Chelsea and a Fulham can exist, then why not?
Yeah, absolutely. I want to see the day when the ISL is expanded to, I think, 16, 18 teams, and make it into a league that's all year round. So, but that's in the medium term. I won't say in the long term. I'm looking forward to seeing how that story unfolds. Hopefully, you'll keep on telling us about how they're progressing. But if people want to catch up and read about this wonderful insight, it's on Asiaville. Kalpant is the section that you go to, and you'll be able to see the diaries, the Kovalam diaries that Nevin has written, and it's beautiful, beautiful articles, all of them, and the videos aren't bad either. So highly recommend. Well, I say they're not bad; they are proper, incredible shot and produced video. So just for that, it's worth watching.
I think I'm very proud of my edit, so I'm just going to tell it on air. I'm happy that I put that edit out.
No, it's. I thought
I'm not necessarily known as an editor, so it was nice to actually edit.
Well, can I be honest with you? I've known you for over a year now, and I thought there'll be somebody else that's done that for you. But to hear that you did it, well, that is incredible. It's wonderful, wonderful. But just talking about the current state of football in Kerala, and obviously your second team or third team or team from your state, I don't know how we're going to class this now, opened the new season of the Indian Super League, and it was my first time after a long time, because we don't have coverage. Well, we had it initially on our satellite channels of the ISL, but it's my first time I've seen a live game for a long time. It wasn't the best game to start off the league. Tell us about how you felt watching the Blasters and ATK MB in the first match, and what are your thoughts on that opening game?
For all the hype, it was a lot like I was disappointed.
Yeah.
I thought the hype was so much that we're going to like have some high adrenaline match. But let's be honest, these players haven't played football in like so many months, and they've had like very short pre-season as well. So it's going to take some time for them to hit the pace and also get in sync with the ideology. Habas, at least I've worked with that team before. The core is still the same, so at least ATK knew what to do, which is to be very boring, which is like very sad.
I was surprised with that. You're used to seeing
that. This is how Habas plays. I think they really miss Susiraj. His pace down the left would have made a significant difference, because they brought in Subhashish Bose as a replacement. He's actually a defender, and he doesn't have the same, going forward. So suddenly they became like really short of pace and attack while going forward. They were just really reliant on Krishna running mad and somebody just, treading him through. I thought Kerala played the better football. I thought they were more confident. They were the ones willing to take the few risks. But that's also because ATK allows them to do that. ATK is meant to, sit, wait, and counter. So you can't really judge as football also based on a match against ATK. Or you want to see it against like a Goa, and that's when you probably judge, okay, Kerala is going to be exciting. Kerala also was missing 2-3 key players in like Prashant starting as a right back wasn't obviously the first choice.
Was Nishu injured?
Nishu had a niggle is what I hear, and he's not still ready, but he's played in the preseason, so that's also a little tricky, right? Was he like really omitted? Was Prashant better? If that's the case, that'll be bizarre considering the money that they paid to Nishu to get him. But anyway, that's there, and I thought the players still haven't really gelled into their position. So I thought, for example, Sandesh Jingle was getting drawn out of position a lot, and they didn't really utilize it. You could have traded in, like, I wanted Prashant to just go to the corner flag, add that extra man in that in the right side of things, and then really draw him out and create that space for, say, Ritvik or somebody from the midfield to come, score a goal. There are the little things, and I think Prashant or whoever plays right back will know that is what is required. Right now, it felt like he wanted to run, then he would stop. He was constantly looking at others. Is this my position? Should I be there? Should I be here? And Kerala really didn't do so much from the left, which I think is their better side, with Jessel and Nongtamba playing. I thought they were also a little, stranded all the time. You wanted Nongtamba playing more of the ball. So, it's early days for both the teams. I think ATK also will significantly improve. This is not what you expect from a a team that has all the players that they want. Like there's so much backup also. I don't know playing Subhashish Bose as a left wing back is a good option. They want more attack. Considering the 3-5-2 that they play, their wing back is a very important position. Prabir is brilliant on the right, but you probably want similar attacking, abilities on the left. So that's one position. I don't know how long Suse is going to be injured, but like Suse is being really missed. And I was also surprised to see uh, David Williams not starting. I thought David Williams and Roy Krishna were like a good partnership last year. They know each other. David Williams offered that body and that physique, while Krishna offered the pace. So, yeah, interesting development there. But again, early days, we don't know. Maybe it's down to players being fit and all that.
Yeah.
And similarly, I think Kerala also will have to really look at Sahal. I was really disappointed with Sahal.
Yes.
A lot of good sleepy moves, but he's just turning around himself. There's no, there's no progression once the ball reaches him, and that's not what you expect from your number 10. You want him to be like really stringing in a lot of passes and dictating matches. So that's one percent. I don't think he's the given starter anymore for Kerala Blasters once
Really?
all the players fit. Yeah, because they've got a lot of defensive midfield options in Jackson and Bhutia and a lot of these players like that. So they might say sacrifice somebody like a Sidoncha and in the Sahel role, some foreigner in the Sahel role. So yeah.
But just a few thoughts that I wrote down when I was watching that game. It seemed like a pre-season game. There was a lot of air shots, a lot of loose passing. Is it because, for example, I was quite impressed with the possession Kerala had, but now that you've explained that that's the way ATK played, that puts that into perspective, because I was really impressed in the first half as to how much possession your boys did have. But I also agree. I was so surprised to see Sandesh so out of position on the left. He was just you never see centre backs that far on the left in a consistent basis, which also surprised me. But in terms of the way Kibu has got, well, it's only the first game, like you said. It's too early to judge. But do you see a difference between last season and this season in terms of playing from the back and possession? Although it's against ATK in the way they play, but do you see the influence of Kibo already, or you don't see a noticeable difference? Although they've had, 17, 18 new players, which is an unbelievable number.
Yeah, too early to say. I don't want to jump the gun and say, yeah, this is changed or whatever. I thought Ilko also wanted to do a lot of these things, but then he was also sort of had to deal with a lot of injuries last season. Kerala players just kept getting injured and he couldn't rely on their foreigners. Arquez was injured most of the time. Sidonja had like a start season. Beche had like injuries. Their defenders, both of them sort of, fizzled out. They had to play Indians and centre back position for a lot of matches. So eventually you saw it become like a tight 4-4-2 and, a lot of crosses and hoping that Beche does something. So it will be really unfair to say, things have changed drastically that Kibu is now taken over. Obviously, there seems to be the Spanish influence of wanting to keep the ball, wanting to keep the possession, but again, too early, and not the right opponent to judge by.
And in terms, and we talked about in the previous show that who's going to be scoring, because you had a lot of possession but no teeth up front. Again, too early to judge whether that will be an issue down the line about who's going to be scoring the goals for the Blasters.
Yeah, but like I kind of liked Hooper. I thought the general feedback was that he didn't play really well, but I thought he was making the right moves. He was winning those headers and trying to cushion it to the players around him. I think the players around him didn't do enough. So yeah, I think I like what I see about Hooper. I think Rahul KP is a more of a natural attacker, so he will change things once he gets into the team. He likes to cut in and he wants to score goals. So yeah, I mean, again, too early to make any judgments. I guess let's just wait and see how Kerala is going to line up. I think this lineup itself is going to change significantly, but like 2-3 personals here and there. Rahul KP I think is our favorite to start once he is fit. So we'll have to just wait and see, I guess.
I liked your centre backs. I thought they had a decent first outing.
Yeah.
I made a note of them, and also I put a question mark against your goalkeeper. I keep saying your, but you know what I mean when I say that. Gomez. Is he a normal number one?
he's had like two. I mean, he was one of the most upcoming prominent keepers. Uh, if I remember right, he was part of the squad for Iswall when they won the I League. Might have to like, sorry, don't quote me on this, but like, definitely a promising keeper. And then he was like stunted by like injuries, so which meant like last 2 seasons he's not been playing a lot of football. But good to see him being trusted and like being given the first game. I thought they would have gone for the safer option of, but even Prabsuk and Gill has not been like he was a backup keeper at Bangalore, so he's also not really a first choice keeper. So good to see Albino putting in a decent shift. I mean, you can't really judge on one match, but
yeah.
okay, he seemed okay in the, and he's one of those ball playing goalkeepers, the modern ball playing keeper. So some especially these Spanish coaches tend to prefer if the keeper can also become a cover and a sweeper. So let's see. I mean, early days, but like he's a well-known name. He's not like a new name in Indian football.
And from the other side, you've given me an insight into how ATK play normally under Habas. But do you think Mohun Bagan fans would have been happy to see them play that? I mean, is there a difference in terms of the way the two teams played last year? I know different managers, different
Of course,
players,
yeah,
but
yeah.
what Mohun Bagan fans
In fact,
are used
the
to.
manager the manager on the other side was their manager,
Of course,
right?
yeah.
So,
But is
yeah.
it something? Is it a
So,
type of football that Mohun Bagan fans will enjoy, or what they're used to, or you can't say?
Mohun Bagan is, I mean, Mohun Bagan has always been like a secret favorite team for me in the I League. I've generally liked them. So and this particularly happened, I think, in those times like early 2011, 12ish, when they were actually a very, very attacking side. You had the likes of JJ and uh, Sony Norde. Oh my God, what a brilliant player! It was a very attacking. I remember some of those Bagan teams used to line up as a 4-2-4 with like four out and out forwards just wanting to attack. So generally, Bagan is being a very attractive side to follow. They score a lot of goals. So yeah, ATK is the exact opposite. They're very tight and gritty. They might score 4 goals in a match, dominating football matches, a lot of counters and all that, especially with Habas at the helm. So I don't know. They need to be disappointed. I mean, as long as you win, right? So you have to like be the most attractive side. And I don't know, ATK won. I mean, the Bagan sides of the ATK MB team should look at it as a positive thing. Now they are like a top team in the ISL, and very likely, I mean, definitely amongst the favorites to win the trophy as well. So I don't think they need to be like really, unhappy about what is happening. They do seem, I mean, upset by the fact that we all, like, I think both of us also made that mistake of calling the team only ATK. I think we should stop. We should start getting used to calling it ATK MP. But I think that's more upsetting them than what is happening on the field.
Yeah, let's play it safe and call them Mohun Bagan, because they'll probably get. I'll get less flack from ATK fans if I just call them Mohun Bagan. But in terms of my first coverage and seeing the shows and the programs, the hype about next Friday. You'd think that's game 8, but the amount of coverage and promotion of that game next Friday is unbelievable. Is it surprising for you or not surprising? Because Kolkata derbies, I've heard about it. Talked to people who follow both East Bengal and ATK Mohun Bagan, and it's a big part of their season. But I was really surprised about how much coverage they're sharing in terms of promoting that game next Friday. Because for me, today's game is just as huge, if not bigger. I'm really looking forward to seeing Goa versus Bengaluru.
Yeah, of course. There are two reasons for it. One is obviously Kolkata derby is the real derby of Indian football. There's nothing like it. They are one of the oldest teams, and also slightly because in the summer when ATK MD happened, a lot of us like, oh no, we're going to miss Kolkata derby. It's a thing that we all look forward to. So we're a little unhappy that is going to go away, because they're going to play in 2 different leagues, and then East Bengal made it to the ISL, and hence there's a lot more, wow, yay, this is happening. They made it possible. So that little extra element is there. I thought last year was fantastic because that is a true derby. It's not polished in any way. They would put out like political banners. There's like real honest sentiments. It's not something cultivated for like for our I mean say it's not a South derby that ISL plays a lot. Uh, it's an actual derby. It's actually located in a city. They have like actual history. There is a uh, there are a lot of things that really define, including even fish prices. Even fish prices get altered on according to who wins the derby. So it's that important. So obviously, Kolkata derby is the biggest thing in Indian football. So that's there. And secondly, ISL has been eyeing this product forever. So Kolkata derby is the most marketable thing in Indian football. And here finally the ISL has it, Star has it, and they're also going real big. Wow, we've got that product. Let's just go overboard with marketing, which is probably why it's reached you also in a bigger way, because it's all over social media. They're making ads, they're making posters, they're really going extra. Because they finally got the most lucrative thing about Indian football in their hands. I hope they don't stop it though. ISL has a tendency of stopping banners, not allowing certain chant and all that. If you do that, you're really killing the sport and really killing what these football clubs mean. But yeah, that's probably why you've heard of it much more.
And just looking at some of the past and what you've just told me about those derbies, and just generally, just for my education, how passionate do they get? Because I know here, and I'm going to the extremes here, but some of the derbies here, if you look at the Glasgow derby, it's very political and a lot of political chants, and sometimes it turns physical. And sometimes if there's a fan of, well, it's the same in the Clásico in Spain. It's very political,
Yeah.
and if you're wearing a white shirt going through the Rambalas in Barcelona, you're probably asking for trouble. Does it get to that level in terms of, if I was wearing I'm not saying I would, but just say if I was wearing a Mohun Bagan shirt walking through an East Bengal area?
I don't think it's like demarcated area for East Bengal, and because they're all same city and like same household so many times, where like dad's
All right.
one of them, son's an East Bengal fan. I mean, it's difficult. Imagine like you supporting a team that your dad hates. It's not going to be easy. But generally, I don't. Okay, I mean, again, I'm not from Kolkata, so I might be wrong. But like my understanding is that it's not necessarily demarcated on a regional basis. It was like in terms of East Bengal meant people who came from the southern Bangladesh side of the country. But like it's no longer the case. I mean, that was a long time back, and now it's again. So I don't think it will be that easy. Like say, Barcelona is a different city, and they were Catalonia versus Spain. There's so much more into it. Here is not that that's super aggressive, but like fights happen a lot.
Really?
And fights. Yeah. There's a lot of tempers flying. There's a lot of those things happening. This is a true derby. Like when I say like a true derby, you're talking about like the Eastern European countries. It can get really super hostile.
Oh, wow.
Also, there's flares. There's a lot of things happening. All that is there. All that is definitely there. And like immediately after the match, you probably don't want to be wearing one particular jersey and being surrounded by the other jersey. That's probably asking for it. But it's perhaps not as bad as the example that you cited.
Until you said that last bit, I thought I was going to compare it to the Merseyside derby, where it is a derby, proper derby, but it's a lot of in family. There's half the family supports Leverton, half the family supports Liverpool, and a few years ago they used to mix.
I have a very interesting incident. I mean, my friends would say it was not interesting. I happened to be in a train from Kolkata to Siliguri on the previous day of a derby, which was happening at Siliguri at that point. East Bengal, I think, was playing in Siliguri. So both, like the entire train had just fans, and most of them didn't take tickets. So I mean, you could have you. I mean, you can say this is your seat, but like, good luck, trying to convince them. I think the TTRs, the police, all of them just gave up. Just like the entire train was a lot of East Bengal and Mohan Bagan chants, and but like you also felt while the rivalry exists, it wasn't like, we're going to hit each other. I mean,
Yeah.
one birth could be like a East Bengal birth, and the next one would be like a Mohan Bagan one. But it was so much fun. We couldn't sleep that night because they just kept making all kind of noises. I wasn't actually going for the derby, but I was like, yeah, might as well have been work. I could have just written something about it. But it's like my friend said, it's like the Indian football just follows you even on your vacation. Like just
A busman's holiday for
yes.
you.
That trip was so strange that I took like a, a very, it's not a resort, it's like a village stay far away in like North Sikkim, in a village that you can't even access through road. You have to take a boat in between and then take another jeep and all that. And the house was owned by a former footballer who's played with Baichung Bhutia. I was like,
wow.
oh my god, like how on earth did this happen now?
What are the chances? Oh, dear.
What are the chances? It's like,
There's a story there that you missed. The journey and
yeah,
the
yeah.
destination. I think you need to
Absolutely,
revisit that.
but I think sometimes it's important that you don't tell all the stories. Just keep
Yes.
some with you.
Yeah, absolutely. But I have to say, I enjoyed the game yesterday. I did enjoy the Northeast United against one of the favourites this season, Mumbai City. I thought it was a good game. Maybe a lot of
Hmm.
people didn't think so, or maybe I was just comparing it to the game before. But it felt like, well, I was entertained. There
Proper
was,
football match.
yeah,
Yeah,
and they seem to be, Northeast came with a plan. And they stuck with the plan, and I was saying Manchester City, that's a Freudian slip, but Mumbai City felt,
Mumbai City.
I was a little bit just considering the possession they had. It sort of felt like Man City. Do you see what I mean? The way Man
Yeah,
City played against Tottenham yesterday, in fact, a
correct,
lot of
correct.
possession, but no end product. Tippy tappy football, but there is a lot of pressure on Libero. He comes with a big reputation. He's brought a load of players from
Absolutely.
Goa,
Hmm.
and they've already lost their first game, so they'll be under pressure when they play again next time. What did you make of
Absolutely.
yesterday's game? And do you think the sending off was a sending off? I did. I'm going to put my cards on the table.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I mean, even I agree. I think it's a sending off, and I mean, sending offs are always controversial. So there will obviously be some set of people who think it's harsh or whatever. But I mean, I think it's possible in football. And I think the red card did influence. I mean, it's not easy even for a Lobera side to play 10 men. Uh, Very early days for Lobera. Obviously, the pressure is there. They spend a lot of money in the summer as well. He's gotten the players that he wanted. Apparently, somebody from Goa was telling me that he always wanted Ogbeche in Goa. So he's got Ogbeche as well. So these are players that he's been eyeing for a while. But I personally feel Lobera missed out by, going with known names. He should have instead gone for a rebuild with Mumbai City, get newer players who are not really familiar with India but can impress, get a good scouting team, get a good setup going there, think long term. And hence he's also put a lot of undue pressure on him by signing all these stars, because now he has to like really prove, because these are all proven stars, but you don't know, maybe they're already like, say somebody like Fall, for example, is he good without a Pena playing next to him? Because the Pena offered that kind of, positional awareness, calmness, very comfortable with the ball. So yeah, it's interesting because we rated Mumbai City as one of the favorites to, get into the playoff spot. So I still think they can do it, but the Lobera ball is going to take some time, and it, it's like those engines, right? You have to just fine tune, and then finally you get that sweet spot. And I think that's what Lobera has to do. But he's going to take some time, and whether they'll have the patience for it, it's just we'll have to remain and see.
Yeah, and like I said, I think you can normally afford to lose. Well, there's an extra team this time, but normally 4 or 5 games, and they've already lost the first one, so they will be under the pressure. But an example of what you were saying about a lot of star players was the fact that he was I don't know, forced is the wrong word, but he had to play Lafondra and Ogbeche, and people were surprised. Normally he'd play one up front. So these are the sort of compromises he'll have to make in terms of trying to fit all these star players in. It's not
Correct.
going to be easy.
And also, uh, yeah, I think he will have to be versatile now. There's no way he can just, do exact same thing as he did with Goa. He has that, so it's like, say, Sari at Napoli. He was brilliant at Napoli. And then he forever been trying to do the same thing. He tried that with Chelsea, tried that with Juventus, and then he becomes like super predictable because everybody like it was almost like making the same team. Who will he get in the Koulibaly role? Who will he get in the Allen role? Who will he get in the Hamsik role? It just became like this coach couldn't think of anything else but this one particular style of play. And I thought the way FC Goa played football was largely due to Koro's influence. He would come down. He was versatile. He could play in the number 10 position as well. Both Ogbeche and Lafondre don't seem to be of the same mold of kind of the forwards that he had at Goa. So interesting days, but again, like we said about the other match, I think it's too early to come to any sort of conclusions.
It is too early, but I have to say I was impressed with the Northeast centre backs and their midfielder. I thought they had a really good game, stuck to the game plan. But also looking on the other side, just the loss of Ahmed, who I was really impressed with actually, and I think Jaboa, is it Jaboa? They just didn't come out in the second half, and you think, do they have the players, the big leaders that? We'll have to see how that pans out. Like you said, first game is hard to judge any team, but
I quite like the coach. He's what, 35? Gerard Nus
yeah,
for Northeast. He reminded me of those stereotypical nerds in a lot of these action movies. The ones who unlock cameras and hack into banks and stuff. It seems like
the only
I
thing
mean,
missing, he didn't have
if I
the
had to,
glasses.
yeah, yeah, we probably like fit that role, but he seemed like that guy. And to mastermind a big win against Lobera, this it almost feels like a Moneyball kind of a situation. Wait, how did this team end up winning? And who is this kid who who is
No,
the manager?
but you could see they had a game plan and they stuck to it.
They had a game plan.
And
Yeah, yeah.
fair play to them. And but
Fair play.
obviously for Mumbai City, the pressure is definitely on. They've got Goa next time, so a lot of familiar faces will be playing against each other again. So looking forward to that. Looking forward to the game today. Goa and Bengaluru. See, two big names that expect to be in the playoffs. And my boys are playing tomorrow. Unfortunately, due to work commitments, I won't be able to watch the game, but at least I'll be able to follow it somehow in terms of the scores. But there's even a big game tonight as well. Leicester City are playing at Liverpool. It's going to be a very late one for you. I'm not sure if you'll be staying up for that. It's a 7:15 kickoff here, so it'll probably be past
I think
midnight.
I think I'll have to crash considering it's been like an immensely hectic weekend. I've slept for 3 hours, so
Oh wow,
I
well,
have slept, yeah.
well,
I
maybe
think I will
sleep
on
during
that
the
much.
early evening, late evening, and wake up for that. But it'll be one that I'm really
Yeah.
looking forward to. I think we go there with a lot of confidence, but you never know with Liverpool. They've got a lot of players out. So have we, to be fair. So, but it should be a cracking game, and we'll see if we can stay top of the or go back to the top after Tottenham's win yesterday. They're at the top, but no. And again, we've covered a lot of topics here. We only covered 2 games, but it's been a fantastic chat again with yourself, Nevin. Really enjoyed it. Get some rest. It's Monday tomorrow, so another big week coming ahead for you. But thankfully, there's only one game in the evening every night, so hopefully that will
The
reduce the
good thing
pressure.
about my job is that I have no Monday blues. I in fact look forward to I look forward to others also working. I'm like, yeah, good, suffer with me. I do this alone.
No, fantastic. Well, have a safe and enjoyable week, my friend, and we'll catch up next week
You
with
too, you
more
too.
football talk. You look after yourself. Take care,
Definitely.
yeah?
Bye bye. Bye.